In this episode of the Hospo Dojo podcast, I chat with Tony Ibbotson, founder of The Creative Method, the design studio behind brands like Guzman y Gomez, Soul Origin, and Ola. We talk about why branding matters and how storytelling can help your venue stand out and stay remembered. This episode is proudly brought to you by Food and Hospitality Week, a major event in Australia's hospitality calendar connecting 15,000 chefs, owners and industry professionals every year. Tony Ibbotson, Tony Ibbo, the founder and creative director of The Creative Method. Amazing. A brand and packaging agency specialising in the food and beverage industry. And a career spanning over 30 years, mate. You don't look that old.
Oh, yeah.
You look younger than me.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll hide it with the hat. Don't worry.
Got some real estate going on.
That's
up
okay. I'll hide it with the hat. Mate, you've consulted in countries like Japan, Thailand, China, USA, UK, Australia, and brands such as Mars, Walker's, Diageo, Unilever, Coca-Cola, Smirnoff, Johnny Walker, Campari, PepsiCo.
Yeah.
And you founded The Creative Method in the humble city of Sydney back in 2005.
That's right, yeah. People love to eat and drink.
Congratulations, Tony. What a beautiful career you've had.
It's magical. Well, it's research, you know. I love to we love to eat and drink to excess.
Yes.
Research. That's what it is.
You really are inspiration, honestly, man. My man, like
Too much.
No, it's good. You've really done some amazing stuff. Tony, can you give us a bit about your journey in the world of branding?
Yeah, well, so, to be honest, I kind of ended up with my own business as a bit by accident. I was working for a big global agency here in Sydney, and they were just going through some selling to another company, and I was design director, and I was working on Unilever and Diageo. They were my two accounts. I was called design director, but I wasn't directing anyone. They were flogging us, so I'd probably start at 8 in the morning, finish at 10 at night. That would go on for 4 or 5 days a week. After, I suppose, a couple of years of this, I said, hey, I'm doing all the work. Maybe you can give me some staff. They said no. So it's like, well, I'm pretty sure you're paying for my wages and my overtime alone. Maybe you can give me a pay rise. They said no. So I left. And when I left, literally, I think a month later, Diageo phoned up my clients and they said, well, you were doing our work. If you can pull together an estimate, we'll give you a job. Same thing happened with Unilever. And also at the same time, I met a guy called Stephen Marks in a pub in Sydney who wanted to start a brand called Guzman y Gomez. So overnight, I ended up with my own business.
Wow.
Yeah, I still can't put an estimate together. I still can't spell.
That's phenomenal, man. And you know, those opportunities are those ones that happen sort of that once in a lifetime moment, right? And I guess for you, when you started branding, like in the design world, I just want to cycle back a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not discrediting what you said.
No,
It's phenomenal. But what was that point in your career early on when you were slogging those hours that you had that aha moment that said, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life?
Yeah. Well, I reckon, we go back even further where, back in the day when I was going through high school, I was 15 and you get to choose your subjects that you want to do, right? And I chose art, and my mum goes, you're not doing art. There's no money in art. If you want to do something creative, you can be an architect, right? So she's had me starting on technical drawing, and in the day it was calculus and physics. Now, I don't know about you, but when they introduced the alphabet into maths, it's like, I'm done. I can't even
It's
spell.
the same thing for me. Yeah.
I'm done. I'm out. I can't even spell, and now you've ruined maths.
I can do financial math. Give me any data sets to study, but I cannot for the life of me, when I see a letter like an A or B next to a number, forget about it.
Yeah.
My wife, amazing.
Yeah.
She can do algebra with her eyes closed, but guess what? She loves English.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, ridiculous. So it became very apparent really early on that I wasn't going to be an architect. All right, those buildings would have fallen down a long time ago. So then I actually, in order to do that, I had to do an extra year at high school because again I failed these subjects and Mum was pretty
Adamant, yeah.
hardcore on me.
So you had to repeat high
So
school.
I had to repeat high school. So all my mates went off to uni and what have you, and I stayed back, and so I did another year. And again, I barely passed these subjects. And I said at the end of the year, it's like, well, I'm not doing this. I'm going to go to design school. And the design school in Christchurch in New Zealand, they took on 20 people, and I was lucky enough to get in.
Wow.
And so, you know, from that point on, it was like, look, this is what I love to do.
Yeah.
And I think like anything, the key to any success and hospitality industry is massively reflective of this. You've got to work your ass off. You've got to work really hard, and you've got to be really passionate about what you do. And I think I was just lucky from a really early age. I knew that I wanted to colour in.
That's beautiful. And touching on the hospitality business, why is branding so important for hospitality businesses?
Oh yeah, I think again, you know, I was just talking over there before around, yeah, storytelling is the oldest form of branding, and you know, if you go back way back in the day, people would talk about their produce and you know and what they've made and how they've made it, and you know, I think that lies at the heart of, you know, food, and food has brought together cultures and people for years, right? And you know, sitting around the table having conversations with family and friends, you know, it's the way culturally that we've connected since day dot. And I think, you know, branding and food is really just an extension of that. It's like, well, what's the story? What makes you unique? And how do you make people feel something about your brand? How do you connect with people in an emotional way? And food's great like that because you can taste it and go, oh man.
Yeah, it hits different, you know, different what I'd say, like targets in your brain too, like because you get it's tangible.
Yeah.
You have different feelings. You have and it sometimes as well. Food has a sense of nostalgia.
Yeah,
Right?
totally. And if you can wrap that up with a story or something emotional that again makes people feel something, they'll remember it and they'll remember that occasion. And I think that, you know, the two are really quite sort of tightly
1,000%. I went to one restaurant in Singapore once, a place called Nori. Chef Ivan, he takes you on this journey, and he studies history. You would love this place. And he did this okra dish, and my late step-grandmother used to cook okra quite a bit, and he did this dish that when I ate it, it took me back to when I was 11 years old. And I was like,
Yeah.
and I was just in the middle of Singapore, and I'm like, man, how'd you do that? You know, like I haven't tasted that since, you know, over 12, 15 years ago. Like, what the hell? Where'd that come from?
It's just engaging those senses.
And he's just engaging those senses and that type of part, and you'll never forget it. Like,
No.
you know, I'm getting to share this story. You could imagine how many places I've eaten at, and I can go back to that and go dial that in.
Yeah.
I hit nostalgia. I remember food, and I go back to this place.
Yeah.
And that's so critically important that your brand reflects that.
100%. It's about how you make people feel, right? People will forget what you do, but they'll never forget how you make them feel.
Now, there are a lot of people out there, especially in the startup sector, that we help out at the Hospo Dojo, going on their business journey when they're starting, and they tune into these podcasts to get a bit of inspiration and some insight onto, you know, how they can go about it. They might be bootstrapping when they start.
Yeah.
So, you know, they can't afford consultants or brand designers and stuff like that. And they, you know, they try to piece things together.
Yep.
What's your general process when developing a brand identity for a client that you could like sort of share, give some insight that potentially, you know, a hospopreneur, like I like to call them, wants to get started with, and probably just try build out his own brand when he or she gets started?
Yeah, look, it's a really good question. And I think first and foremost, start with the food, right? Make sure that your food is the best that you can possibly make. And, you know, and if your food's great, then you know, it really forms the foundation of your brand. So make sure that your product's bang on. Then when people ask us, all right, well, what bit shall I do? I'm a big fan of just do a great takeaway bag, all right? If your takeaway bag, and we had this philosophy, you know, right when we started GYG, Guzman and Gomez, it's like, We want people will have never seen this brand before. We want people to see this takeaway bag as they're walking down the street and go, "What is that? I don't know what it is, but I want to know what it is. And if I do know what it is, I want to go back to it." So your takeaway packaging is we often sort of say it's the closest to free advertising is what you're going to get, and it also makes you look bigger and better than what you might be. And again, I think it's a really good example. When GYG started, people didn't know what a black bean was, right? They thought it was an olive, right? People had no understanding of Mexican food. And from day dot, and Stephen Marks had the money to make it happen, but the view was this first store in Newtown in Sydney needs to look like it's part of a 200 store chain. Now, most people when they're starting out, they can't do that, but I would go, do some great packaging, right?
What can make you? What is the bare minimum that can make you feel that way? Like for me, I totally understand. Where you can do that. The way that, like, if I look at it from a business sense, and I was in the fit out game for over 10 years, so I used to build these stores for a lot of people, and the way that to help, add value to what you're saying with the packaging side, when you're doing a retail fit out and you want to immerse people in the store, don't go for a large footprint store.
Yep.
Let's try and make it a lot smaller, right? And if you make the retail section of your store a lot smaller, the retail front is where you spend a lot of the money in the detailed joinery and the signage and the lights. So the smaller square meterage and the percentage of that of your entire area, because building a kitchen compared to a front of house section is probably about 30% of the cost of that.
Yeah.
From the tiling to besides the services and stuff. But I'm saying from an aesthetic perspective, you just need white tiles on a wall.
It's a really good shout. Keep it small, and then it always looks full.
It always looks cool, right?
Do you know what? Look, another little story off the back of that is when GYG had 3 stores, they were opening one in King's Cross, and Stephen said, "I want to do a free burrito flyer drop to everyone in the neighborhood, right?" He goes, "I'll give away a free burrito." We made these flyers, and they went out to everyone around the cross. I think we got about 5% return. Now 5% in DM is actually quite big, but he lost his shit. He lost it. He's going, "I can't believe this. I'm giving people a free burrito, and they don't want it. They don't want to come in and
Get a free burrito,
get a free burrito." So we stopped doing the flyer and started doing free burrito from the store, right? So that's when you started getting lines coming out the store. So for anyone starting out, you go, all right, well, how do you get a line outside your store? You give us, let's say you give food away, give your product away for half a day, create a line, get those people and give them the best food you can make, and then they will do the selling for you.
Yep.
And that line will do the selling for you.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's 1,000%. So if the DM didn't work, the direct marketing that you're talking about with the flyer drop, how do you do it in store?
Yeah, so he did it in store by giving burritos away for free.
Just standing there with the burritos there and going, free burrito day.
Created a sign, free burrito day.
Come and grab your free burrito.
And I think now they charge for them. I think now it's a $5 burrito day.
Yeah.
But they would do 8,000-9,000 burritos in a day.
Wow.
Right?
Crazy.
But I think that's where it transformed the brand, because it got the food in people's mouths.
Yep.
And people would eat it and go, "This is good," and then they would do the selling.
1,000%. And
Right?
1,000%.
So if your food's good, what I would say to anyone starting out is, how do you get it into mouths, and how do you get other people doing the selling for you?
Nice. What are some key? What do you think? Besides that, we're saying the packaging as an option.
Yep.
And we touched on nostalgia. What are the most common challenges you find when working with hospitality businesses?
I think, a lot of people think it's a logo. A lot of people think if you have a great logo, then, and people have come to us and they've gone, "Well, you've done Red Rooster and you've worked with, a lot of these great places. If we come to you and get a logo, then, we're going to have a business like theirs." I think with hospitality and food, there's so many different facets to it. You know, that's always a challenge, sort of saying, hey, look, if you want to do what these guys have done, you've actually got to work out a way of doing it properly. There's a lot of competition in the food space now. It's really competitive. I think, you know, that is probably one of the biggest challenges around getting people to understand that, yeah, if you're going to compete with these guys, you've got to disrupt.
Yeah, like we've at the dojo, we've got an 85-page brand guide.
Do you?
Yeah.
That's pretty
Yeah,
serious.
we've got an 85-page brand guide, and we literally, you know, I launched this in 2023.
Yeah. Well, you're doing it properly,
Right?
You know?
I launched this whole thing in 2023, and you know, I went to a disruptive branding agent, who knows personal brands really well, and you know, he's helped me disrupt the sector.
Yeah.
But the one thing that we've always been strong on is our brand guide. So anything, any collateral, any post we do on Instagram, any movement we make, any email that we send out, it has to be vetted by our brand guide. Even our tone of voice in our responses.
Yep.
Now the brand guide revolves around me.
Yep.
Right, they built it around me, so that becomes a lot easier. And that's what I feel like a brand guide should be a true reference of who you are.
Yep.
And what you believe in.
Yep.
So then that way you can follow through with it. But I also find that, you know, you need to, it's not something that sits dormant. There are a lot of big corporations that pay for it and then they just don't utilize it.
Yeah.
We use every single asset that you guys create.
Yeah.
We use every single voice. We use the tone. We know, even like we've got some brand no's. Like, do not put the brand, like when we were wrapping this bus, the guys that were doing it put our logo on a little 15% angle. And I was like, no, like go back to the brand guide. That's a no.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Can't do that. And look, you're bang on, especially when you're building a business, you've got to be really consistent with the way in which you do it. You know, the likes of KFC and McDonald's are kind of, you know, leading the way with how you do these sorts of things properly. But I do think you touched on it as well. It's like, you have to be able to look at it and evolve it and keep asking the question, is this still true?
Still true. And aligning. The same way you're consistent with your food,
Yeah.
you need to be consistent with your brand and your posts and your presence and your marketing and where you feature and what you do, you know?
Yeah.
So on the back of that and what we've been doing, you know, what advice would you give to a new hospitality business trying to stand out in the crowded market?
Yeah. I think, again, I'd come back to the food, right? What can you do that's actually going to disrupt, right? And we've all seen these brands that have come out off the back of one particular dish or something like that. You know, firstly, what to your food might be Instagrammable or might disrupt, or, you know, how do you get that cut through and stand out for a start? So I think, you know, really looking to do something different. I mean, you know, you love your brands, you know, and it's not directly related to hospitality, but, you know, Liquid Death water.
Right, yeah.
Right? Completely disrupted the market because it was based on solving a problem around, hey, you know what, people that go to music festivals, they might want to hold a product that is just a little bit cooler than a water bottle, right? So it goes in a can, it's called Liquid Death. It's not going to, you know, they didn't build that brand for it to go on the shelf in the supermarket, right? And most people would go, well, you can't do that. But if you understand your market and where you're selling to, then you can really disrupt if you're brave enough.
1,000%.
Right? So there's a, you know, there's a boldness and a braveness to it. But yeah, understand your market again, and then if you do that right, then those people will do the selling for you.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like you see these people literally buying cans of water.
Yeah.
That are supporting this because they feel like it replicates them.
That's right.
And they feel a sense of connection, right?
Yeah.
And nostalgia.
Yeah.
Liquid Death, but it's water.
It's water in a can.
Yeah, in a can.
Yeah, I grew up in New Zealand where we got water out of a tap, and we used to think, geez, I'm never going to pay for water. And then bottled water comes along, and now it's like, you know, Liquid Death. It's like, it's just, you know, it's mad.
It's
but
crazy.
I love that, though, because it was about solving a problem that it was tapping into this need that younger people wanted something that did kind of reflect more of them.
That's phenomenal. What do you think, and this is just a gut shot call, what do you think the next trends are going to be for next year?
Well, in the food space, I'd say hands down, Middle Eastern, Lebanese. I think if you look at what what happened with the Mexican trend, we can very easily map and see what's coming around. You know, and it's really the same sort of thing. When Mexican sort of came along, people didn't really have much of an idea of what good Mexican cuisine was. It was El Paso in the supermarket. Lebanese, Middle Eastern has been coming for a while now. You can build and structure a business in a very similar way. You have your grilled meats, you have your, you know...
The processes are very similar, yeah.
Very similar. And where they've been lacking in the past is that the brands just haven't reflected the quality of the food.
Yeah, I guess the brands have always tend to localize themselves.
Yeah.
Rather than, you know, create an openness in communication.
Yep.
I think a brand now which is dominating in the charcoal chicken space, which is El Jana.
Yep.
They've sort of take that gentrified approach.
Yeah.
You know?
Finally with El Jana, when we worked with El Jana, I thought when we first met them, I thought, you know what, we can do a bit of a GYG on this. We can potentially leverage into Lebanese culture in a really interesting and modern way. And I suggested this to the owner, and the owner and his sons were in the meeting, and his son is, sort of said, hey, I don't believe food and culture should be together. And I'm going, bro, food is culture.
Yeah.
You know, this is what food is.
Stands for, right.
But his father was concerned that some people would go, hey, I don't like Lebanese food, right? And the strategy was, if you make this look Australian, right, and you know, appeal to Australians, then people will try it and go, oh, I really like that. And then it's like, oh, you know, it's
Lebanese
and Middle Eastern. Right. So, you know, there was a little bit of concern and thought around that. And I believe you know Ibby.
Ibby and George,
right?
yeah.
So when he launched Henrietta's, right, that was the same thing. He's like, well, I'm going to do Middle Eastern, you know, Lebanese chicken, but I want people to think that it's American, taste it, and then go, wow, what is this? This is amazing, and then educate, right? And when we first did that brand, that was what he did. Then when he sort of came to Melbourne here, he said, I think people now are ready.
Happy to dial in for the Lebanese.
A modern take on Middle East and Lebanese. So, you know, you look at the branding and graphics that we did for that. It was really leaning into Arabic text and really sort of trying to, you know.
Even the beer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so it's been happening for a while. But I think in terms of the QSR space, you'll see a lot of stuff happening there.
Yeah, and there's a lot of guys that are, you know, frontiering that as well.
Yeah.
If you see Alasil,
Yeah.
they're doing a great job at doing that, as well as with their dips that they're launching Mazzardi and stuff like that onto the shelves. So I think a good reflection of if anyone's really looking at trends that are coming up, go to your local supermarket, see what's on the shelves, see what's available. Because if Coles and Woolies have it as an item after 3 months, it's staying for good, right? Otherwise, it's cancelled.
Yeah.
So if you see those products that are coming time and time again, new products are coming into the market, that's a real good way to do those market research to see the trends of what's coming. That's how I always see it, you know, because if the adapted taste is there and it's going to the masses in family homes, then people want maybe an elevated experience to then also be able to enjoy that somewhere else.
And that's a really good point. I think especially around Middle Eastern and Lebanese brands, it's like, how do you elevate it, right? Because Andre from El Jana, his son Charles, has just started a brand called Sharif's, right? Which is, you know, hearing the shawarma.
Yeah.
And he said, I don't believe that a lot of people have tasted a really
Good
authentic,
shawarma. Yeah.
good shawarma.
Yep.
Right. And then we kind of discussed it for a while, and you know, the problem that we were trying to address is that a lot of people think of it as it's a kebab, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people think it's a kebab, and a lot of people think, well, this is just what you have at 3 o'clock in the morning when you've stumbled out of the pub or the nightclub. So it's like, well, how do you elevate it? How do you make it look better? How do you make it look more desirable? So when we were building that brand, we really heavily leaned into Lebanon and Beirut of the 1960s and 70s, which was the Paris of the Middle East, right?
And you can see that through the fit out. It looks sensational.
Yeah.
The communication and the offering and it looks like a place of 100 stores. So
and it's going off.
You nailed it.
It's
You
going
really
off.
nailed it. You nailed that brief.
But again, good food. Those
they're,
shawarmas are
phenomenal.
authentic.
Yeah,
They're really good.
well, mate, look, I can't wait to take you to my grandfather's backyard and try some great food.
Oh, yeah.
And then we'll see if we can create a new brand.
I wouldn't mind giving this bar
Giving
a
the
nudge.
bar a run. Oh, well, thank you so much, my man, Tony.
Pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. It's an honor. And I look forward to staying in touch. And thanks for coming down to Food and Hospitality Week. The team here have loved having you. Are you doing any talks today?
I've just finished one. Over in the business area about storytelling.
Beautiful. Amazing. Thank you so much again, Tony.
Hey, thank you very
and
much.
we look forward to chatting up with you soon. Thank
Pleasure's
you.
mine. Cheers.